and something that I wouldn't have expected. Listening to Brian, I don't recognize him. But I'd like to make a few points. Now, first of all, the definition of a good speaker is A, you're brief, and B, you try to be interesting. All right? I will be brief, I will try to be interesting. But one of the points I want to make is that in America, for some reason, we think that everyone has to accomplish what they are doing in the first 5 years of their career, which is nonsense. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my biography so that you will know my career has spanned all of my life. It didn't stop when I was 20. This is nonsense. At 13, I decided to be a doctor. I read a book. I was really impressed. It was about a child who died from cancer, and I wanted to be a doctor. And I told my mother about it, and she said, that's great. She didn't say you should be a nurse. And it never dawned on me that you wouldn't want me in medical school because I was a woman. What was this craziness, you know? And you see me here because I am greedy. At 13, I wanted to be a doctor, and at 19, I met the man I wanted to marry. At 17, I wanted to go to college, and this great university let me in, and hundreds of thousands of people like me who could never have gone to college without Wayne State University, and who now have the lives and careers they never even dreamed of. Okay? I went to medical school, and I was one of 4 women. And one of the students said to me, with great sincerity, we didn't think women were smart enough to be doctors, but I guess you are. And I said, I guess we are. And then, when I finished medical school, at 26, I decided I wanted children. And it never dawned on me you couldn't have a family and be a doctor, because I wanted it all. And it got hard sometimes, and I would think, okay, what shall I give up? And I told you I'm greedy. There was nothing I was willing to give up. So I just kept going, all right? There were no residencies in emergency medicine, but a year after I finished my internship, I knew I wanted to be an emergency physician. So I went and got a job as an emergency physician. And 4 years later, when residencies came about in Michigan, I went and I got training so that I would be better. Because one of my ambitions was to be respected for being a good doctor. All right? So then I did that. And then when I finished my residency program, and Brian is right, I got to be tough. Because they would step on me until I said to one of them, if you step on me again, I will kick you. And he never stepped on me. So I made it through the residency, and I told the chief residents if they took my patient from my group of patients to surgery without me, they would have to find a new bed, because that meant they didn't want me to take care of that patient. And I went to all the surgeries. When I got out of my residency, I knew I wanted to teach. And I knew I wanted to be a program director. And I went to a hospital that wanted a residency. And they gave me 3 months of maternity leave, which I had never gotten in my life. Wow. And I figured I'd owe them 3 months. So I gave them back the 3 months. I didn't really like the hospital particularly. They didn't seem all that friendly to me, but they'd given me 3 months. And during the 3 months, I put the residency together. And I went to the chair of the department and I said, who's going to be the program director? And he said, well, I don't know. And I said, well, you better find that person because they're going to have to do the rest of the papers. I haven't finished. And I became program director. emergency medicine is not really well respected. You have to be the best residents in this hospital. And one night, I called someone from surgery, and it was my resident. And I called the medicine resident, and it was my resident. And ICU was my resident. And we had taken over that hospital. I wanted my residents because, Brian, I was tough, and I could yell, but they were the best. They reached their potential. Well, now I got to be 52 years of age, and I had a very successful residency program. But I had some residents who were working very hard and not learning, and I didn't know what to do. So I marched into Wayne one more time, and I said, I want to join the PhD program. And they said, well, you have to interview, and you have to take this test, and you have to do something else. And it turned out, I can't even tell you this, I had never graduated from Wayne. At the time that I applied to medical school, all you needed were the credits. And so I got into medical school, and then my mother became very ill. My plan had been to finish all of my credits and graduate, and she was dying. And I forgot I hadn't graduated. And the woman who was the head of the instructional IT department, I told her what had happened, and she said, well, this is ridiculous. You're a doctor. You should be able to get into this program. She fought for me to get into that program. All right? And I graduated, and now I knew why the students who were having so much trouble were having trouble. And we put together not a remediation program, we put together a support program. Because remediation means they fail, and we have to do something for them. Support means they need a little more help, but they have the capacity. And they all graduated. They all did. And there were no divorces in the residency. Some of them have gone on to get divorced, but not while I watched it. I knew the spouses were suffering. And that it was as important to support the spouses as the residents, because the residents had successes and the spouses were working. And then something happened. I had joined these various professional societies. I will be honest with you, I just wanted to keep the RRC off our backs. And so you had to do something, you know? And then women started coming up to me and saying, you're my mentor. Women I've never met. I had not been their mentor, but I had been a role model proving that you could do this. That you didn't have to be special, because I wasn't special. I just was greedy and wanted it all. And I thought, if these women think I'm so special, we need something. So I got appointed to he was the president of SAEM, Society for Academic Emergency Medicine. And he formed a group, a task force. He called us the Angels, because someone had accused him of being biased against women. And Glenn Hamilton couldn't stand it. So we went to the first meeting, and there were a lot of really important women in this room, and then there was me, all right? And so we were talking about what to do, and I said, you know, we need an academy. I said, otherwise, when this task force is over, we'll be gone, and nobody will have done anything. And so we started advocating for an academy, and then we had to write some recommendations. And it turned out Kathy Clown was the head of this task force, and she said, Gloria, just as I said to you, you should write this. And then she nagged me until I finished writing. Because many of the men thought it was ridiculous to have recommendations for women. But we got it published. And the Society for Academic Emergency Medicine accepted all those recommendations, plus the academy. Now, I have to tell you about this academy. First of all, when you're a woman, and there are 3 women in the room, you feel kind of lonely. And you think that all your problems are unique and they can't be solved. But when you're within a group like this, and you pass on knowledge, as Dr. Winters said, Then all of a sudden, and not only Dr. Winters, but I think Kim made the point also, now you have solutions. Your problems are not unique. And the other thing is they have solutions you can implement. We have the biggest academy in SAEM. More women are in that academy than any other. The mission of that academy is to recruit, support, and retain women. We have mentors, we have committee members, and everybody who comes into a position of leadership has been mentored into that. We have a network all over. We have individual chapters. And we are getting a paper published, best practices, because nobody today, or very few people, can accomplish anything of substance in a vacuum. I'm a joiner and a network leader also, Dr. Woods. And they band together, and if you have a problem, it goes on the listserv and it gets solved. They meet, we have an academic luncheon every year, we put on academic programs, and we reach out to each other. And that paper that they worked on, the best practices paper, is to support women who are in academics, but in community hospitals, so that their chairs will know what you need to do to support the people that are working in the trenches in emergency medicine. And it turns out that what is good for women is good for men. Men now have maternity leave, so that their wives are not so frazzled they can't stand up. Men want to have successful families and be part of the family. Men want the opportunity to succeed and to know that they belong to a unit of support, just as I belong to the unit of support that Brian has created. Just as the chair, or our chair has done this, the president is now working to make working conditions more livable, not only for women, but for men. I think our biggest weapon is peer pressure. The millennials want to be part of their family. And we need not to be a minority, we need to be equal. We need to fight for that, we need to say that we're worth it, and we need to prove our worth. And every woman in this room is busy doing that. And you can take the rest of your lives for all of those accomplishments. And now I need to tell you that my biggest support is my husband of 53 years, who thought it was neat that the woman he proposed to wanted to be a doctor, because I had lied to him, knowing that women were supposed to do the laundry. So I had told him I was going to be a teacher. And the night that he said to me, let's go study, I said to him, I can never see you again. I'm going to be a doctor. And he said to me, I think that's really neat. Thank you so much for your attention. And thank you.